The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Wednesday, March 26, 2025, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Tuesday, March 25, 2025 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions. Messages from the Assembly. Messages from the Governor. Report to standing committees. Report to select committees. Communications and report from state offices. Motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. On behalf of Senator Hinchey, on page 20, I offer the following amendments to calendar 404, Senate Print 1721, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place in the third reading calendar. Senator
At this
Gianaris.
time, Mr. President, we're going to simultaneously call an immediate meeting of the Finance Committee in room 332 and take up the calendar for
There will
the
be an immediate meeting of the Finance Committee in room 332, and the Secretary will read.
Calendar number 113, Senate Print 1688 by Senator Skoufis, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 57.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 189, Senate Print 1535 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the public service law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 189, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Councilor Fitzpatrick, Helming, Matera, Oberacker, Rhodes, Steck, and Walczyk. Ayes 49, nays 8.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 359, Senate Print 866 by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the penal law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 57.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 472, Senate Print 1912A by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the social services law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 472, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Lanza, Oberacker, Ort, Rhodes, and Walczyk. Ayes 53, nays 6.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 553, Senate Print 6283 by Senator Scarcella Stanton, an act to amend the cannabis law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 557, Senate Print 2075 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 573, Senate Print 1373 by Senator Serrano, an act to amend the agriculture and markets law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 30th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 573, voting in the negative, Senator Walczyk, ayes 58, nays 1.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 578, Senate Print 1798 by Senator Fassard, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill's passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Mr. President, we're going to stand at ease as we wait for the Finance Committee to conclude its work.
The Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will return to order. Senator Gianaris.
There's a report of the Finance Committee at the desk. Let's take that up, please.
Secretary will read.
Senator Kruger from the Committee on Finance reports the following bill. Senate Print 3002, Budget Bill and Act making appropriations for the legal requirements of the State Debt Service. Bill,
Accept the report of the Finance Committee.
All those in favor of accepting the report of the Finance Committee, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Finance Committee is accepted. Senator Gianaris.
Let's take up the supplemental calendar, please.
Secretary will read. Excuse me, there's a substitution at the desk. Secretary will read.
Senator Kruger moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance Assembly Bill Number 3002 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 3002, third reading, calendar 619.
Substitution so ordered. The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 619, Assembly Number 3002, Budget Bill and Act making appropriations for the legal requirements of the State Debt Service.
Lay it aside. Secretary will ring the bell. That completes the reading of the supplemental calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Controversial calendar, please.
Secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 619, Assembly Bill Number 3002, Budget Bill and Act making appropriations for the legal requirements of the State Debt Service.
Senator O'Mara, why do you rise?
Yes, Mr. President, if the sponsor or chair of the Finance Committee would answer some questions.
Senator Kruger, do you yield?
I will be happy to be Senator Budget at the moment.
The
Yes.
Senator Budget yields.
Very good. Senator Kruger, here we are, 12:30 on March 27th, taking up the first budget bill. There are 9 other bills that make up this budget that we do not have before us at this time. Can you explain to us where we stand in this budget process?
Thank you very much. Mr. President, through you, we are still in negotiations on the remainder of the budget, but as is the pattern of this legislative body for I don't actually know how many years, we always end up doing this budget bill first because I think most of us recognize this budget bill, the debt service bill, is an assurance and guarantee to all 19.5 million New Yorkers and anyone who we have borrowed money from through the bonding system that we are going to continue to make our payments on time. So that is why this bill always comes first and why it's critical that this bill get done before April 1st. While we always hope to get the complete budget done by April 1st, we often, again, look at the history, you'll notice we often do not hit that target, but we always try to hit the target with this bill first.
To you, Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Of course.
Sponsor yields.
Senator Kruger, do you believe it's important for this state legislature and the governor to pass a budget by April 1st?
Through you, Mr. President, I get concerned if the budget is so late that it could actually impact the people of New York. If you look at our record over the last, probably now close to a decade, we are usually very close to April 1st, and so the actual impact on anyone in the real world is not even noticeable, because we also have the budget extender option, which if that was going to be asked of me, would likely happen on Tuesday when we return to session, so that we can assure yet again all New Yorkers that while we continue to negotiate to get the best budget we can on very complicated issues, that the business of the state of New York will continue, the people of the state of New York will get paid if they work for the state, the payments due by the state of New York will continue to get made. So if there were no other options and flexibility allowed, April 1st could be a scarier number, but in fact we know from experience and history that the exact date of April 1st is not necessarily particularly significant as long as we are getting our work done. And I know most of my constituents, when I explain to them why usually we are some number of days late, but we are fighting for a better budget outcome for them, recognize that they also want us to fight for a better budget outcome.
Mr. President, the senator will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Absolutely.
Sponsor yields.
I'm glad you mentioned other people in the real world. unfortunately, other people in the real world, when they have a deadline, like an April 15th tax filing and payment deadline, they have to make that on time. Yeah, here we are year after year disregarding the constitutionally mandated March 31st to have the budget by April 1st. Yet we continue to disregard that, but that's par for the course around here. But I'll get to my question, Senator. There's currently, to my understanding, about $55 billion in outstanding debt owed by the state.
My numbers show 56.5 billion, but I think it's close enough for the discussion.
All right. To you, Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Does the sponsor yield?
Of course.
The sponsor yields.
So 56 point whatever you said, billion in outstanding debt, which we need to authorize to pay, and I can guarantee you that every member on this side of the aisle wants to assure that we will be paying and making our payments. Yet this bill, this budget bill, this debt service bill, I believe totals $65.1 billion, so nearly $10 million more than what the outstanding debt is. Why is that?
Yes, the debt service appropriations compared to last year will be $10.7 billion. And I want to make sure I heard the second part of the question. Could you please repeat that? Through you, Mr. President.
If we have some $56 billion in outstanding debt, yet this debt service bill to authorize payments on that is for $65 billion. Why is it $10 billion more than what is actually outstanding and owed?
Because even though we have not resolved the final budget yet, I think you and I are both assuming here that we will be accepting the governor's analysis that for next year, it will be $64.9 billion.
So, through you,
Senator-
Mr. President,
okay.
Senator, will yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
So, in a bill yet to be negotiated, yet to be put in print, yet to be put before us, which I assume is going to be the capital budget, there's going to be an extra $10 billion that we're going to commit the state to paying, yet none of us on this side of the aisle for sure know what is all in there.
Through you, Mr. President, the debt service bill obligates us to pay our debts. It doesn't assume that we must make payments that aren't put into a budget and actually need to be paid for. So it gives the flexibility to the state to be able to increase payments if money is bonded and borrowed at those levels, but there's nothing in this bill that would make us have to pay out money that we have not borrowed.
To you, Mr. President, if the senator will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield? The
Yes.
sponsor yields.
So we're authorizing that if we come up with these new debt expenditures, we'll have the authority to make payments on those. You know, my general take on life, and certainly in this legislature, is that when you have that cushion and ability to spend, you're going to spend it. And there's $10 billion here that we have no idea what it is, what the new spending, what the new debt is being incurred for. So that's the concerning part about this bill, not about authorizing payments on the $55 billion. And as I've asked you in prior years, why don't we just authorize the $56 billion at this juncture, since the other 9 budget bills are not in print, and then come back and amend this bill at the time the rest of the budget bills are in place?
Mr. President, I accept that my colleague and I could have differing opinion on that. What I'm confident of is we want to get the debt service bill done. And frankly, we do take a long time on budget. As he's pointed out, we probably won't get there by April 1st, and I have agreed. So why make extra work for ourselves to have to do double duty on the one bill that's relatively clear-cut, simple to understand, a necessity for the state of New York? And just to clarify, that April 15th tax deadline also has flexibility because, of course, you can ask for extensions. You can prepay your taxes on a quarterly basis. There are a variety of reasons why individuals also end up finding that they don't necessarily get everything done by April 15th. We would like to get everything done by April 1st. And it was recently brought to my attention, it's not in the Constitution that we have to either. That was a shock to me as well. But I still support our goal of getting to the April 1st target. And as far as having the flexibility within our law to allow the state to potentially borrow more than we know the details of today, that would still require a process and a legislative process and all kinds of review and sign off. It's not so different than when you as a individual might go and ask for a line of credit from your bank, just in case. Even though you haven't made the final decisions about whether you're adding the extra room to your house or whether you need to put a new roof on. So I think the state model for this is not actually inconsistent with what individuals make decisions about and need the flexibility for in their personal lives either.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. President, the senator will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
Now, this is covering the $56 billion of existing debt that's out there, but there's a lot more debt in this state through various authorities and everywhere else that I think the general public would say 56 billion. That's not all that's owed by the state, but between all those other debts that are out there by those various things, and I'm just going to mention one of many of those that's not included in this, is the $6.5 billion owed to the federal government for the unemployment insurance fund that was borrowed during COVID. There are no payments in this debt service bill to pay that down, and the state continues to pay about $200 million a year in interest on that. Is another portion of this budget going to deal with this unemployment insurance fund debt that we owe?
Through you, Mr. President, in our one House budget through the Senate, we did factor in helping to pay the interest rate owed by the businesses of the state of New York in order to help them with the interest rate payments on what we still owe the federal government because of the pandemic unemployment period. We also build in a tax credit to assist businesses with that. But the reason that's not part of the debt service bill is because the unemployment system is not part of the state budget. It is a separate, independent insurance system paid for by workers and businesses to have a UIB system. So it has never been part of the state budget. Hence, it has never been part of debt service in the state budget.
Through you, Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
Do you consider that $6.5 billion unemployment debt that's owed to be an obligation of the state and the state taxpayers?
It is legally an obligation of businesses who are obligated to be under the unemployment benefits system in our state, as in every other state. So no, it is not legally an obligation of the state budget.
Through you, Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
Well, I would argue that it certainly should be, because it was much of the policy of this state to shut down businesses and make those employees unemployed during that period. 35 or some other states in the country used their federal COVID relief money to pay down their unemployment insurance fund debt. Yet we're still not doing that in this bill, and from what I'm hearing, it's not proposed to be in any other bill. I'll just go on the bill, I guess, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator.
Senator O'Mara on the bill.
It is extremely important that we pay our obligations in this state, fully supportive of that. Yet there's a lot to be desired here, and the excuse that, well, we're just going to do it now to save us the hassle of coming back and amending it when we know exactly what the number is, exactly what these other 9 budget bills, primarily the capital bill, is going to require or authorize an appropriate of debt to be incurred, and then we would have a more accurate figure here to deal with. If this was a debt service bill in the interim to get us from April 1st till whenever we pass the budget, and we were doing $56 billion, I would certainly be voting aye. But I have to vote no for the $10 billion that we have no idea what it might be for. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, we've agreed to restore this to the non-controversial calendar.
Upon consent, the bill has been restored to the non-controversial calendar. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 619, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, O'Mara, Ort, Steck, Tedisco, Walzek, and White. Ayes 49, ayes 10.
The bill's passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's supplemental calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk.
I move to adjourn until April Fool's Day, Tuesday, April 1st, at 11 a.m., with the intervening days being legislative days.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until April Fool's Day, April 1st at 11 a.m., with the intervening days being legislative and its opening day. So let's go Mets.